Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. So, there is something that I like to recall and remember from time to time, and I think it helps me, should I say, in my journey, and I would like to share it. That is the two kinds of people as explained by Shaykh Abdul Qadir Al Jilani. So, he goes on to say that there are two kinds of people. So, there are those that are fortunate and those that are tried by what Allah has decreed, which we can call the rich and the poor. So, the fortunate one, we begin with that, right? The one that is blessed with fortune, perhaps wealth, and its likes. He is still tested. His fortune doesn't remain. He will still be tested with whatever he has, perhaps in his wealth, in his health, wealth, in his family, or something. And then he talks about how such a person, when he's tempted, that the test is supposed to teach him a lesson, but yet he begins to complain and lament as if he was never in any good, and yet before it comes, he feels as if he's going to be in that condition, that fortunate condition, forever. And he says that his reason for such a person acting in that way where he complains and does the like is because of his ignorance. Ignorance of what? His ignorance of two things. One is his Lord, and two is, uh, should we say, the world. That his ignorance of his Lord in the sense that Allah is the one that changes and transforms. He sweetens and bitters. He does as He wills. He enriches and impoverishes. He grants security and changes to fear. And He does whatever He wills and just changes things. So, if Allah is the one that does such, then why will He think that His good fortune was going to last forever? And then why does He think that if He is being tested or tried with whatever displeases him, then such a condition is going to remain forever? So this is his ignorance. Rather, things change. There's good times and there's bad times, and Allah switches between them. And then the second one is the ignorance of this world. Why? Because this world is not a place of comfort and luxury. Rather, is a place of hardship and suffering and the like. So comfort is just the norm of it, while toil and striving is often, comfort is just a side or a coincidence or a relaxation sign, something that comes happens once in a while or tries to happen. Like, it's not the norm. What the norm is actually is striving and toiling. And he now says that the reality is that what the world has to offer at the beginning is bitter, but at the end of it, that is where the sweetness is. And he gives an example of the laborer, right? The laborer, he toils in his work, he's exhausted, he stresses his body, he strains himself, working under the sun, sweating, and he's just going on and on and on again until finally he finishes his work for that day and he's being paid and he enjoys the fruits of the labor. Similarly, if somebody was to do the work that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded him, he will go through things that we can say is many times more than what the laborer is going through. And by going through this thing over and over and over again, enduring it, being patient with it, obeying the commands and all these things, eventually he will taste the sweet end. That is the good death and the life after, where Allah will lavish him, grant him all the comfort, take care of him, and just spoil him and give him whatever he desires, and even more than that. Right? And so, the rich person, he should not feel secure in his good fortune, because it's not like something that was going to stay as it was. Or, and rather, not or, and if he wants to hold on to that fortune, then he should be grateful or express gratitude for what he has been given. And the way he expresses gratitude is by acknowledging what Allah has given him, obedience in his command, and being charitable with it also. And by expressing gratitude, he holds on to the favor, because it's one of the rewards of gratitude. And if he chooses otherwise not to, so instead of being grateful and working the good work that is needed, righteous good deeds, he's comfortable in his wealth. He engages in it, relaxes in it, finds it as something that is going to stay forever, and then is ignorant and heedless of the traps and the poisons as it describes, and what he's supposed to do. Then such a person will only enjoy that comfort for a while, and what happens afterward is that he will be destroyed. He will not, and he will not meet the sweet good life that he was supposed to get at the ending, because he was heedless and he did not work for it. That is for the fortunate. As for the one that is tried, then he is tried for three reasons. So he is tried perhaps as a punishment for his sins he committed in the past, as an expiation and purification from them, or as a way for Allah to raise his ranks. And the Sheikh goes in depth to this raising of ranks. He explains that the misfortune that someone might go through can actually be a great blessing for it, for him. And so he describes Allah giving such a person this misfortune as a way of friendliness and kindness. And despite the fact that it will be hard or like burdensome for one, Allah like refreshes the person and gives the person like good feelings from things like his knowledge, his iman, his trust in him, and his certainty and just knowing of his Lord. And so such a person, even though he's going through misfortune, which we might call poverty, and it's like he's not actually in a sad state, but is actually in a very happy state. And that Allah is doing this for such a person, he's doing it as a way of choice. He's choosing him and selecting him from the many that are, we might say, not worthy of it, right? And through that, Allah draws out the faith of the person, and so it becomes stronger, and it shines. It shines through the misfortune because of how he handles the situation. And also, Allah also purifies him. He purifies him from shirk and nifaq, which are very, very evil things, which we might call that somebody should hold on to. And through going through this misfortune and how he handles it, especially if he's knowledgeable or somebody that Allah like wants good for, right? He's he he purifies him from these evil things, shirk and nifaq, that is associating partners with him, and hypocrisy. And through this, or through what he's gaining, Allah then showers him with knowledge that he doesn't give other people, and enlightenment. And so this person, while it might seem that his while things might seem unfortunate for him, is actually going through a lot of great reward, which might not even show in this world, but in the next world it will be much more better. For example, he quotes a hadith where he says that the the poor people, right, are the guests of our Rahman on the day of judgment. Our Rahman. This is a hadith, if I remember correctly. So, Ryan, let's look at this. When we have guests, right, don't we honor them? We do. Now, uh, he now says that the guests, he now describes them, these poor people, not just as guests, right? They are guests, one, on the day of judgment. The day of judgment is supposed to be a very hard and just a very hard and difficult day, right? The last day, the day of reckoning. But those people are coming as guests, and then they are coming as guests to who? He didn't say to Allah, he says to our Rahman. This is the quality of his mercy. Rahma, which we say is all the good that we receive in the world. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Rahma, about his Rahma, that his Rahma is better than all what they might gather in this world, all the good that we can gather in this world. Allah's Rahma is better than it. So this rahmah is describing Allah with good, such so much so that uh how should I put it? It's like describing Allah with his this is loving generosity, right? And goodness, or all kinds of goodness. And then he now says the guest of our Rahman. So you can imagine how these people are going to be treated, right? It's going to be something like uh very worthy and honorable, which we might say. And so I like to go through this from time to time, or at least when I remember it, because I think it gives a nice outlook of understanding the world, especially if you are working towards Allah, in the sense that even if someone is fortunate or tried, right, all these people are still like supposed to be doing the work that they are supposed to be doing. That is doing righteous good deeds and believing in Allah. And so the for the fortunate one, right, his fortune is still a test for him. And if he doesn't use it the right way, right, that is by being grateful for it. Grateful grateful is like it's still going to affect him, right? But the one that is tried, he doesn't like have any fortune to like deal with, and so he's better off just working towards the good, even though like fortune does help. And so now, how should I say this? These are not just like the it's not just something that is in stone, right? There could be other variants. It's possible that somebody Allah is punishing the person, and he punishes him by good fortune, which is like not good for him, because he just uses the fortune to like increase his accounting and increase his punishment in this world and in the next. And I don't think that Allah will expatiate somebody for his sins by giving him fortune, right? And the fortunate one, especially if he is truly a believer and has taqwa, right, he can still use his fortune in a way that pleases Allah, and so he will be raising his ranks. But I believe that the misfortune one, right, and he is being tried with misfortune so that his ranks is being raised, is is pretty much the best among. He should be the best among them. And yeah, it might not be all the case, but this is this is it. And so the way he goes on, and he really goes deep into how Allah prefers this such a person, then is something that is desirable in terms of the ending, but the journey through it is something that can be very hard. So we are being tried in this world, and I myself am being tried, and sometimes things are hard. And I think the way he described it is something that I won't even call it love, right? But it's comforting, but in a tough way. And if you know Abdul Qadir Al Jilani, then you know that he uh was somebody that was more of on this side, right? From his life and everything. He actually didn't want anything to do with the world, and he preferred like just the bare necessities, and he focused on worshiping Allah, and was someone that was knowledgeable. And he described that in his not just in his speech, but also in his actions. And so yeah, I like to go through this from time to time, and I believe like it's comforting in a tough way. So I'll say tough comfort, and we're all working towards Allah, and we hope that Allah gives us that good ending that will lead to happiness and His like.